welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick, with the City of Hampton's Communications and Marketing Department. And today we're going to go back to our family and parenting topics, and this is one that has particular resonance in Hamptons and throughout Hampton Roads. Parenting and military families, which face very special challenges. My guest is Alvean Lyons. Welcome back.
Thanks, Robin.
Military families face challenges that, I can't even imagine. The long deployments, the stress of the job, the changing, the moving. It's a very particular lifestyle.
Agreed. And it comes with some really remarkable creativity in order to make that work.
And I know they're very good about sharing with each other, and that helps a lot. And they have, a lot of times within your military community, you've got kind of a built-in support system, which is huge.
It's true.
But you can still have some insight and some tips to help people through this.
And you're absolutely right. Hampton Roads is such a transient environment. I mean, we have so many bases that are so close to us that I don't think you could find one person in the city of Hampton that does not have a friend or family member that is part of the active duty military at this point. And my closest friends are military families. So I have watched up close and personal the amount of work that goes into making sure that you create and maintain a healthy family atmosphere, given how much transition has to take place for everyone, sometimes in very short periods of time. You can get changes in terms of deployment status. You're expecting that a loved one was coming home sooner than they actually come home. You're expecting that they were going to be gone at a different period of time. I mean, things shift so quickly for those families. And while they're serving our country and absolutely protecting us on so many different levels in ways that we don't always realize even, there's a lot that is taking place in their own homes and a lot of sacrifices that are being made in their own homes. And making sure that that works well for them is very important. And it's something that Youth Education and Family Services cares a lot about. We want to make sure that our military families have the support that they need. So one of the things that we talk about is the coping mechanism. How do you make sure that these families have what they need in order to cope? Making sure that they're using those skills in particular. So we're going to take that four-letter word, because that's what we do all the time, and we're going to break it down into 4 components that are important in the family for that success. So let's start with C. Connection is the key. We have to make sure that we are connecting within the family in particular. We have to communicate with each other on a regular basis, even though mom or dad, because it could be either that is deployed, absolutely. Even though one of them may not be present, the other one that is home has to do sometimes double duty in a lot of ways. So they're communicating with their kids on a regular basis, trying to make sure that you know what kinds of challenges your kids may be facing, because they may be at a new school. They may be going to a different grade. They could be making major transitions from elementary into middle into high school even into college. There are so many life transitions that may take place where one of the parents may not even be home for that. So it is very, very important that whatever parent is present, and even our parents that are away.
Well, see, I was going to say, what with technology and social media and Skyping now.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, unless you're on the front lines.
Which is different, very different,
But a lot of times when you're not physically present, you can make more of those connections than you used to be able to in your, once a week phone call.
Technology has given us a major leap forward as families, and particularly when you're talking about a international deployment, so you could be anywhere, quite literally. It gives you a chance to be able to still parent, because parenting doesn't stop just because we're not physically in the same place, because connection can take place in so many different ways. So even if I'm having a conversation with you about what's going on in your world, and we're doing it via Facebook, whether we're doing it, if we're tweeting each other, whether we're doing it texting, whether we're getting a chance to see each other in terms of, using our iPads and I can see you, Skyping, whatever it may be, whatever mechanism you may have, do understand that it's still a resource that gives you a chance to still be present as a parent. And don't feel like because I'm not physically there that it's no longer my job, or it's a job I can't do. Not that you don't think it's your job, but you feel like you can't do anything about it. Kids will take it from wherever they can get it. All they want is us. All they care about is knowing that they have us, even when they act like they don't, because we have teenagers.
Yes.
So even when you have that experience, do understand that on the inside, they still want to know that they're connected to us. So connection is really, really important, and the only way to effectively do that is to make sure that we're communicating, even if it's a letter. Because a child will read a letter 100 times.
And you know,
just to hear your
handwritten
voice.
letters, we're a little bit out of practice with them, but they're wonderful, and you do get to save them, and they're a little more personal sometimes than an email.
It's true. It's true, because I can touch it. I can feel it. There's something almost romantic about it, in a way that can be between a father and a daughter, a father and a son, a mother. In the purity, the most pure way that I can express that, there's something very loving and beautiful about being able to get a handwritten letter. So it doesn't matter how you connect, just make sure that you are, because that is going to be such an important foundation to build everything else on top of. Absolutely everything on top of. The second thing I'll say is openness. One of the things that a lot of the families struggle with is when you've had a parent that is away, coming back into the family and knowing where you fit is a major challenge, because life has gone on for perhaps 18 months, sometimes 2 years, and everybody has grown and they have changed, and you don't always know where you fit anymore. It's important for the family, that the parent that is home, to leave a space open for that other parent to come in and play a role.
And I would imagine that's not always easy
It's
when
not.
you are used to shouldering the
Because
whole burden,
you had
and you
to.
know you're going to have to pick it up again.
Absolutely.
You know?
You had to. But that may mean in very small ways that, okay, I'm not making lunches because Dad's home. I'm going to let Dad make lunches in the morning. So that it's a simple thing. It's not something that is life-altering, but it's a role that the other parent gets a chance to play. And simultaneously, it's hard for us who stay home to figure out that it's okay to give away some of that responsibility.
Right.
Because our fear is that what happens when you leave again, I have to take that back on, and it just becomes harder making that
each
adjustment
time,
and
right.
flipping back and forth, which is why I say start with little things that make the other person feel like they still have a space, and things that you don't have to be afraid that if the ball drops, because they're going to be out of practice.
Right,
If the ball drops, the whole world is not going to fall apart. If lunch didn't make it that morning, you do have, the opportunity to be able to send $2 to school really quickly, or your child's lunch money. You make sure that a teacher has something, depending upon what age your kids are, so that if there's an emergency, hey, Dad just got back in. We're working on integrating back into the family. He's covering lunches. I'm going to leave you $10 just in case this happens, or I'm going to put it on my child's account, just depending upon where your kids are at school. There are lots of ways for us, particularly as mommies, to make sure the plan B is in place, but we give Dad a chance to do plan A. Or if it's a mom who's coming back, because we have a wonderful Navy family that lives in our neighborhood, and it was Mom that was gone for 2 years. And she had to work very hard to find her space again in the home. But the thing that Dad did very well is, despite how, and we'll just call it, it's a little bumpy early on, despite how bumpy it was, he just backed up and let her work through that with the kids. And it's not easy in every relationship to do that.
Right, you want to swoop in and fix
You want to
things.
fix it, but sometimes he would not go when the babies were crying, just so that they would get used to Mom soothing them again. There are different things that we can do, and we all have to decide what we can handle doing. But the thing that it has to be true is that we've got to leave a space open, because there's nothing worse than feeling like you're forgotten. Our veterans talk about it all the time.
You're forgotten, or you're not needed.
You serve no rule.
Right.
So you literally sacrificed your life and you have nothing to come back to. We have to make sure that they have something to come back to. And as a family, the way that we can do that is leaving that space open for them. Then P, you've got to be positive about it. Positive outcomes come from positive outlooks. We have to decide that we're going to look at this thing as best we possibly can. The fact that you're even getting your loved one back is an amazing blessing. We have to be so grateful for that, because not everyone gets that chance. So many times you have situations where the ultimate sacrifice was made, and that changes a family forever. But the fact that we get our loved one back, we have to find ways to look at that, even if that's the first and only thing we've got right now. Start from a positive place. You are home. And as long as you're here, we are a team and we're going to figure this thing out together. It's not going to be smooth. It's impossible for it to be. It is no different than if you were to read a book and somebody tore out 5 pages in each of your chapters randomly. Figuring out how to keep that story moving smoothly may mean that you have to be creative. You may have to build a story in that space so that you can continue the story from where it picks up. But we all feel the pages ripped out, but that doesn't mean that the story is over. There is so much still left to be experienced together.
Well, there is, and the other thing is, we focus, and I opened by talking about the challenges and how difficult it is. I'm sorry, military kids also get this great experience of not always seeing parents in traditional gender roles.
It's true.
Mom's got to do the plumbing while dad's gone,
true.
or dad takes care of the babies while mom is gone. And they learn a lot of really amazing and positive things. They may get to live overseas. They have all these wonderful things, and yes, there are challenges too. We all face that. So focus also on what this lifestyle brings to a family,
Absolutely.
Not just what it takes away.
Because we don't own the facts, but we do own our perspective. How we look at the facts is completely our choice. So that positivity that we're talking about in terms of the positive outlook, creating positive outcomes, is all based on how we want to look at this thing. The fact that I have you home, the fact that we get a chance to see the world, the fact that there are different periods of time where we learn how to love in different ways. That loving is not just whether or not you're sitting next to me, but loving can be from here to the other side of the world. That love could be conversation as opposed to just touch. Love can be so many different things. There's so much that we can learn, but we have to see it that way. We have to decide that we're going to pay attention to that. It's like walking without ever looking up. We have a beautiful sky above us, but you only see it if you look up. Otherwise, all you'll see is what's in front of you or what's beneath you. It's all a matter of what it is that we choose to do. And that we completely own. We cannot change how long someone's gone. We cannot change what they may have experienced. We cannot change how much life has taken place while they were gone. But we definitely can own how we decide to look at all of that. And that's something that we have our own personal power in order to be able to utilize that. So we want to be positive in terms of our outlook because it really does affect our outcome. If I only think about what you missed, what you didn't do, where you weren't, I resent what you spent your life doing. And here you are on the battlefront. Literally every day, what's keeping you alive sometimes is just the thought of going home. It's just the idea of being able to create an America, for instance, that you can be proud of, that you're giving to your kids. So the idea of family may be the only thing that is keeping you moving forward, only to get back home and to feel like you don't have anything. So we have to be aware of that. And then simultaneously, for the parent that was home, they had to take on everything on their own. And that may have come with a lot of pressure and an enormous amount of stress, and being mindful that maybe I did not have bullets flying, not physically, but emotionally, I've been dodging bullets for me and the kids the whole time that you were gone. We've both been on the front, but in different kinds of ways, and we have to respect that about each other. And if we look at it that way, neither of us will have that be drawing from a well of resentment for why and how things have taken place. And then ultimately, you want to educate yourself. When you're in a new environment in particular, and sometimes it's not even a new environment, you just haven't really plugged in yet to the environment that you may be in. Educate yourself on what you have and the resources that you have in your community, because there are so many different options and ways for you to feel like you have support regardless of what the situation is and where you are in terms of the marriage development, the family dynamic, wherever it is, how old the children are. There are always resources that can help support families. And because we talk about what it is that YEF does all the time, Youth Education and Family Services, there are so many different things that you can get involved in and so many resources you could take advantage of by just looking it up. It's here in our community. We are very friendly to our military families because we in Hampton Roads value them so much. And we talk about that kind of thing all the time. We want to make sure that they know that they have the support that they deserve and need, and that it is totally okay, and we welcome them to be part of that.
I think so. And you mentioned the Healthy Families Initiative, but also we have a military affairs committee.
Absolutely.
And they are great volunteers, most of them either military or military families,
Right.
you know, who may be retired or maybe still active, but who are ready to mobilize to help a military family in crisis, or
Absolutely.
to provide needs or to provide resources. And usually, you know, work through the PTA or the soccer moms. People understand that you may not be available for as much of the transportation
Right.
because, you know,
Right.
you're carrying the load. So there's, you know, don't be afraid to reach out and ask, because most people want to help and don't know how.
Absolutely. But we have to know that it's okay.
Okay to ask for help.
It's totally
You've become
okay.
used to being
Absolutely.
that soldier
Trying to shoulder it
in a lot
and
of
being that
ways.
soldier at home. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But even a soldier recognizes that I am only as strong as the team that I am with. I need everybody plays a role and pulls their weight, and ultimately that's what keeps us safe. So the same rules that apply on the battlefield are absolutely the same rules that we have to use as a community, that we need each other, and that it is absolutely appropriate and okay for you to lean on someone else at any given moment, because we all look forward to the opportunity to be there for one another.
We do. That's a wonderful summation. So I'm not going to say anything else, but to remind the military families out there, there are resources, there are people who want to help and support you, and support your support for each other and what you do for our country. So please stay attuned. Hampton.gov/healthyfamilies, Hampton.gov/MAC for Military Affairs Committee, or talk to folks. Use those resources, because we appreciate what you do and we want to support you and your family. Thank you for watching.